then, ladies and gentlemen, Dark Water was one hell of an eventful episode, and you guys know exactly why we are saying it was so eventful, but we are not going to let 5 seconds of an episode completely determine the episode itself, because quite a lot in Doctor Who, you have cliffhangers and revelations that quite a lot of people give an episode a 10 out of 10 just because of the last 5 seconds of it, or the last 10 seconds of it. I've heard quite a few reviews who give The Name of the Doctor a straight up 10 out of 10 because it was revealed that John Hurt was the Doctor, so it was, so there are quite a lot of episodes like that, so we're going to try and be as critical as possible, but not too critical.
No, I wouldn't say too critical. We're going to try and keep it as fangirly and as balanced as possible. We don't want to get lost in the nostalgia, but I'm not gonna argue, but I'm gonna say that it's the first time in a long time that I have came out of an episode utterly speechless.
Yeah.
This is the first time I felt actually content talking about it, because before we actually watched it and reviewed it, I didn't even know what to say. I didn't know if I loved it or hated it. I honestly, an episode has never struck me like that has. I literally just went quiet all night, just trying to take in what has just happened.
Yep.
But yeah, we're not going to let that ending, as fantastic as it was, determine our actual ratings and reactions. We're going to go through everything of the episode, starting with, of course, talk about throwing us straight into the deep end.
Yeah.
Danny's death. I say death, but that was one hell of a way to start the episode.
It certainly was. Do you think this may be resulting a little bit in a Rory sort of character where, he dies and then you bring him back to life sort of thing?
I don't know. I mean, as soon as he died, I knew he was going to heaven.
That part was predictable.
They had to get to heaven somehow.
Yeah.
And I think if they were to do it, it was to have a main character be killed off. And
yeah,
I've got to say, it was executed to perfection. The way that Clara was on the phone and we never got to see what happened on the other side, and it went quiet, and then a woman just picked up and went, "I'm so sorry," and I just thought, no, this can't be. And my girlfriend, who is not, she's not what I would call a top Whovian. This is the first series she's actually properly sat down and watched, because I pretty much made her. Actually, no, she watched series 1, but she's not watched since. But even she turned around and was saying that they can't kill him off like that, and she was getting quite upset over it, because it was just done so well.
Yeah.
The way that it was all happening, and there was like police cars, and then they just kind of directed the camera around Clara, and then it was just all gone, and then fast forwarded.
Yeah.
It was just, it was heartbreaking.
It was
so
really,
ordinary.
Really was. It was the narration of the voiceover of the Coal Hill headmaster announcing to the kids we could imagine in an assembly hall, telling the pupils that their maths teacher Danny Pink had died. It was surprisingly shocking. We all pretty much could have guessed that Danny was going to be going to the Promised Land and was going to meet either Missy or Chris Addison. We couldn't have known in the early stages of the episode, but we knew he was going to the Promised Land. But I was quite shocked at how much I reacted to it.
It was, like Clara said, she summed it up in one line, it was ordinary.
Yeah.
It just normal.
Yeah, and that's quite surprising in Doctor Who, because it's very rare that you see a normal death.
Especially with a big character.
Yeah, especially with a big character like Danny.
And I think that's what surprised Clara more than anything else.
Yeah.
That he didn't die by heroically, doing a flip over a Scorvox blitzer or something. He just died by getting hit by a car.
Yeah.
And I think that kind of was a shock to us as well. I never expected him to be walking across the road and get hit by a car.
Yeah, definitely.
If anything, I thought if he was to die, he'd be getting deleted by a Cyberman. But,
I mean, I didn't expect him to die at all, but if he were to die, if I knew he was going to die, I would have thought he would have died in a lot more of an exciting sort of explosivenary fashion. Sorry, I can't talk today. Flashing. Sorry, but yes, the fact that his death was so, as Clara said, ordinary, I think that's really what made it so impactful.
Goes to
me.
show that a death doesn't always have to be big and explosive
Yeah,
and dramatic.
definitely.
It
Yeah.
just has to be
Although
simple.
Brigadier's life was quite eventful and quite explosive, working in charge of unit and all, he had a quite peaceful death. He died in his sleep, I think. But yes, so which leads us on to Clara and the Doctor's volcano scene.
Which everyone kind of over-theorised. I think everyone was saying it's either the time stream,
In all fairness,
it's hell, it's the volcano, it's Pompeii.
In all fairness, we did.
We did. I'm not denying that because as soon as I saw it, I thought things just jumped through my mind. I thought time stream, Trenzalore, hell, where are we? But despite it not being all that it was hyped to be, I thought it was one of the most well-executed scenes in the episode.
Yeah.
Although I will say, taking the keys hostage and stuff, there's a massive nitpick with that. The Doctor can open the TARDIS by clicking his fingers.
And plus the
Clara-
TARDIS, and plus the TARDIS is psychically linked to the Doctor. I think the TARDIS could have made an exception for the Doctor.
Yeah.
Even
Clara herself has clicked her fingers and opened the door.
Exactly.
So it just, it was such a well done scene, but if you look at it from that perspective, it does seem a bit redundant.
It does. That scene definitely seems quite redundant because the Doctor could have easily gotten back in the TARDIS easy. But all the same, the scene was very impactful, very emotional, I think, and the fact that it proved how far Clara can go to try and save Danny. She'll even go to the deepest, darkest depths of her soul, of her character. She'll go through anything to do that, and I think that says something about Clara's character. And just in those few seconds, how redundant it may have seemed now.
Yeah.
I think it has gave Clara depth in so close to the finale of the series, and I think not only has she grown depth throughout the series, but she's also grown depth in that particular scene, and it was lovely.
Yeah, although it does seem redundant, it did lead on to her desperation and the Doctor basically saying, we'll go to hell.
Yeah.
And that scene, he showed so much care for her.
Yeah.
Even Clara was surprised how much he cared for her. That was the fatherly figure coming out. People have been complaining all series, I don't like the 12th Doctor because he's not caring enough. That scene was brilliant. He showed how much he
cannot
cares.
say that Capaldi hasn't had his Doctor moment yet. You can't. Because, in my opinion, Capaldi had his Doctor moment as early as Deep Breath. Come on, he's been the Doctor since then.
For me,
For both of us, he's had his Doctor moment for 11 weeks. So it's. But in that particular moment, Capaldi was very caring of Clara. The fatherly side came out to her, which I think was both shocked Clara and the audience. I think.
Yeah.
And that line that he said, "You've betrayed me. You've betrayed our friendship. You've betrayed everything I stood for." And then raised his voice and said, "You let me down." In proper strong Scottish accent.
Oh, the strong Scottish accent.
And then he just comes up to Clara and
she says, "Why would you help me?"
Yeah,
and he says a lovely line.
Yeah, he just says, why would you betray me? Do you really think I cared for you so little that betraying me would make a difference?
Yeah.
It says something about his character. Although he was insulting Clara, he was cheering her up at the same time. He was saying, "Come on, it's like they inflate." He always has been saying things about Clara getting emotional and crying and so forth.
Because he's not good with stuff like that.
He's not good with the emotional stuff, and especially with human beings showing emotion. He's like, what do I do? So he was insulting Clara, but at the same time cheering her up and perking her on. So I think that was quite brilliant, and it showed their chemistry sort of galvanised into this episode, which is very well done.
Yeah, definitely.
Moffat has done a good job in that respect.
He has, yeah. We went to Heaven, aka St. Paul's Cathedral, which of course it seems as if it's a con. It's not really heaven. It's just there to make people think they're dead, when in fact they're just using the dead bodies to create Cybermen, which is the generic Cybermen motive, but with a clever twist on the Nethersphere and heaven and stuff. Mm-hmm. And I liked it. I thought that it was good, the 3W and everything, and the Nethersphere, and them turning them into Cybermen. I thought it was pretty good. Moffat said himself they need to have a scientific twist on heaven because it's too much of a touchy subject to say heaven exists or heaven doesn't exist.
Yeah.
Because of religion and stuff. But yeah, the sci-fi twist on it was quite clever.
It was.
And it was weaved into the story as well.
It was very well done. It was very well conceived, and I think Moffat, although he's had problems with stories in the past, obviously,
Oh, yeah.
I'm not going to mention any, but in this episode he has conceived well the theory of heaven. I mean, if there's any Christians watching saying that it isn't a theory, it's true. But I do think that this concept was well woven into the story, and it involved Danny very well, which brings us on to Chris Addison's character Seb.
We might as well talk about Seb and Danny.
Yeah,
to be honest.
might as well, because it was quite an emotional journey for Danny as well. But Seb I found quite annoying. Chris Addison, he's a regular on Mock the Week, I believe.
Yeah, he is.
And,
He is now, yeah.
Yeah, he is now, and he's also a stand-up comedian, and was in the Direct Line adverts, I think, for a bit. But
if anyone takes that much notice to the Direct Line adverts,
I know, sorry.
James does. He's researched.
Sorry about that. I spent way too much time watching the telly. That's what it is.
Yeah.
But Seb, I found incredibly annoying. His over delivering of the lines, his small little cocky lines, just just really, really annoyed me. And his character seems like that sort of office boy who, and it seemed like he was only in it because he got the good word from Peter Capaldi, because Peter Capaldi worked with Chris Addison on the thick of it.
Yeah.
And I don't know, maybe it might be a lovely moment if Peter Capaldi and Seb were to actually meet. Maybe off camera they may be like, "Nice to see you again. Don't swear at me."
They'll probably be good friends.
Yeah, probably. But really, I just think Chris Addison should just stick to stand-up work. I mean, I've not seen him in the thick of it that much, but from what I've seen in this, Seb just really annoyed me.
Yeah, I thought he was. I thought he would be I thought his character would be there to give a bit of humour. But I thought there was enough humour to the episode already. So, his character didn't have to be the comedic, bumbly sort of character. He could have been just as serious as the 12th Doctor was, and it wouldn't have made a difference. So,
yeah.
I think his humour, yes, it was refreshing, and yes, it was nice to have, but yeah, he seemed, and we don't know if this is Moffat to blame or not, or Chris Addison.
Yeah.
I don't want to, put the blame on either, really, because we don't know that. But yeah, no matter what, Seb's lines were quite over the top.
Yeah.
Quite over delivered, and I'm not saying that has completely downed the episode as a whole.
No,
but it's worth talking about.
Yeah.
Now Danny. Now Samuel Anderson, I think for this series, he's not been given too much to go on. He's not really, his character's not had too many emotions to explore. But in this, seeing Danny cry, after being such a solid, he's been the voice of reason. He's been the mature character who's very headstrong, and he keeps Clara in line. And to see his past and him get quite upset, I thought was very good.
It was very well done. The flashbacks were very, very well done, and of course, filming a scene in Afghanistan, in Afghanistan territory with terrorists and stuff like that. They didn't actually show any terrorists on screen, of course, because they didn't want to offend any people, I suppose. And like the concept of heaven, it's filming a war zone in Afghanistan or Iraq or whatever, that can be quite a touchy subject as well, because so many people have lost limbs, lives in that hellhole. So it's quite a touchy subject as well. But it was done very, very well, those flashbacks, and to see Danny's past finally was quite good. And what I also wanted to say, going back on Seb just for a little bit, I think that what made Seb extra annoying to me was Danny being in the room next to him, because Danny had just found out he died. He had a girl who loved him, and in fact her last words to him before he died was "I love you."
Yep.
And he had his whole life ahead of him. Yes, he had his demons, but he was on the right tracks. He was on the right lifespan. He was on the right road. Well, obviously not the right road, but you know what I mean.
Bad pun there.
Yeah, sorry there. But Danny had just found out he died, and Seb is there making jokes. I think that is what made him the most annoying to me, because I was like, Seb, shut the fuck up. The guy's just found out he's dead. For God's sake, that's what annoyed me the most for Seb.
Yeah, definitely. He was the weakest character in the episode apart from which it was a flawless cast and flawless acting.
Yeah.
We then met Missy.
Yeah, met is kind of
the Doctor
loosely.
The Doctor met Missy.
Yeah. Let's just say that this is the most screen time Missy has ever had.
Yes, and they got rather intimate.
Oh God!
And this is exactly what pissed me off so bloody much.
I will put my views on this, Matthew.
Why did they need to kiss?
Yeah.
It feels like an excuse just to keep the Doctor kissing women tradition going, even with Capaldi's Doctor. But really, why? Why would Missy, who is someone else, which we'll talk about, why would she just randomly kiss him? I mean, obviously now we know who she actually is, it's just even more disturbing. But that kiss was unnecessary, it was pointless, it did nothing for the story. If that kiss hadn't happened, it wouldn't be like, oh, the story's not as good now. It was just pointless, and it's just Moffat's way of making a female character flirt or kiss the Doctor like Tasha Lem did, like River did. And it's exactly what I didn't want in Missy.
No,
if it wasn't for this kiss, her character in this would have been flawless.
And given that we know what the frickin' hell her character is now,
it's just disturbing
it
and
is,
wrong.
It is. I mean, what was the point
Moffat?
in it? Literally, what is there?
He just couldn't resist, could he?
Is there actually an impulse within Moffat where he just has to make the Doctor kiss someone? Well, technically, she kissed him. There was no other way around. Because I always said that as long as the Doctor isn't flirting back, and as long as the Doctor doesn't like it at the very least, then I'll be fine with it. So the fact that the Doctor was backed up against a wall, looked absolutely traumatised and went, Clara, is it over now? You know, and Clara seemed just as traumatised, really. But the Doctor seemed more traumatised than anyone else there. So you have to give it to Moffat. Okay, don't give it to Moffat.
I'm not giving him anything.
No,
in this scene.
don't give it.
I'll give him a punch in the face. Is what I might give him.
But you've got to at least say that Capaldi. At the very least, you've got to say Capaldi didn't flirt back, and he didn't like it. Think about that.
That's just plucking straws at a way to make this scene at least a bit positive. I see no positives in it. I mean, if I don't know, it had a big point to play in a later story, like, I don't know, Missy had something on her lips that knocked out the Doctor. Fair enough, that's justified, that's fine, but it did absolutely nothing. It's just Moffat's way of getting a hard-on while fucking writing the thing. Honest to God, it's unnecessary. Anyway, we'll move on from that scene.
Hard-on while writing.
We then found out why it's called Dark Water, which is something that we actually got quite deep into in the preview. We found out that it's called Dark Water because them tanks had skeletons in, and basically they were exoskeletons or something. I don't know. But basically, yeah, it's like an X-ray where you can only see the skeleton. And I'll admit, it was good to find out what the Dark Water was, but, you know, I already knew they were Cybermen anyway. But it kind of made the fact that they were Cybermen a bit predictable.
Yeah.
And it made their, I wouldn't say return, but, you know, it kind of made their presence a bit, they're there now, that's a bit anticlimactic, so...
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, if we didn't know the Cybermen were there, obviously, I think it would have been a lot more impactful. But the fact that we already knew it was there, it made it just all the more obvious. So I agree with you there. It did make it very... very obvious to me.
I think it was just an excuse to hide the Cybermen away when people clearly knew it was them anyway.
Yeah.
I mean, don't get me wrong, when they were revealed, which we'll talk about, was freaking epic. Better than I expected. But yeah, it was predictable.
It didn't get rid of the shock factor at the end.
It didn't.
Which I think was very, very good. Right, what else have we got?
One thing I do want to mention is when the Doctor... what do you think of the 3W? Why it was called the 3W?
Well, that's the thing. Obviously, I think it's quite a worrying... another great concept that I think Moffat has thought of. You know, the fact that the dead are conscious all the way throughout, being dead.
And cremated.
Exactly.
Burnt.
Exactly. They can feel themselves burnt, burning, and also Pardon me. Sorry. I'm drinking orange juice at the minute. It makes me a bit burpy. But sorry about
Too
that.
much information.
Yeah, sorry about that.
I'm drinking milk out of a jar, ladies and gentlemen.
Yes, we are. My house has kind of broken all its glasses, so we're drinking out of jam jars here.
Yeah.
But anyway, back onto subject. The reason why it's called 3W, I think it's quite a scary concept, but at the same time, I think it's very, 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 very clever. At the same time, I think. I mean, us being conscious the whole time, feeling everything that our dead bodies are feeling.
Yeah.
It's scary.
Yeah.
I think so. I think in terms of why it's called the 3W, I think it's quite clever.
Yeah.
And the Doctor being very closed-minded in that scene, you know, for a man who travels around time and space in a little blue box that's bigger on the inside, he's quite closed-minded for someone who does something so impossible.
Well, it's exploring his religion and his beliefs a bit. He doesn't believe in an afterlife by the sounds of it.
Yeah.
What do you think of the fact that it looks like it's all a con? It looks like it's all in the cathedral, and that Missy has used this Gallifreyan plate, I can't remember what it was, this something slate, to make people believe they're in heaven when they're actually not.
Yeah.
Does that kind of make the whole hype of it being heaven a bit meh, or does it actually make sense with the Gallifreyan technology?
No, I think it makes sense. It built up to us discovering that she was a Time Lord.
Lady.
Time Lord?
Time Lady.
Time Lord. Time Lady.
Time Lord! If you want a woman Time Lord, you call her a Time Lady. Time Lord, Time Lady, Time Lord, Time Lady. There's a fucking difference, sorry.
Yeah, God. No, never has that video been more relevant.
Yeah.
But I don't think it took anything away from it because it showed the sci-fi twist that you were talking about, and it also showed more build-up to it being revealed that she was the Master.
Yeah.
So, yeah, try and get your heads around that sentence. She is the Master.
Oh, we'll talk about that, my goodness.
We certainly bloody will. But, yeah, I pretty much think that concept was very well done, I think, and I don't think it took anything away from it.
Yeah, there was one scene what I really want to talk about. It's like the smallest thing, but it made me so giddy. Was part of the Cybermen's presence, or their reveal, or whatever you want to call it, when the Doctor took Dr. Chang outside before they encountered Missy and stuff, and the doors shut, and it was a remix of the Lumic theme from Series 2. That moment made me so giddy. I was just like, oh my freaking god, it's Army of the Cybermen. And I think the soundtrack in this, we've got to acknowledge the soundtrack.
Yeah, we have.
My
I mean,
goodness.
although Murray Gold has, made it a habit of his over the last few years for him to be rehashing and remixing old music. It's become yeah. Enough said about that. But yeah, in fact, that is actually the rhythm that my headache makes. But no, although Murray Gold has made a habit of this, I think it was really lovely how they used the Lumic suite. I believe that's the name of the music.
I'm not 100% sure.
No, I'm not 100% sure. But as the doors were closing, you could see the image of as the doors were closing, it made an image of Cybermen eyes.
Yeah.
And and then when it made dun dun dun, the
directed soundtrack.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Oh my god, the direction, the soundtrack. It made the Cybermen, although we knew it was coming, it still made me go, my god, it's the Cybermen.
It did.
It still made me giddy.
It really
Still
did.
made me giddy. There were we will get onto the nostalgia, won't we? With
Yes.
St Paul's Cathedral and
we will.
and Tomb of the Cybermen-esque
Yes.
entrance. We will.
We'll talk about this.
Yeah,
we might as well get this bit out of the way. One thing I found quite heartbreaking is when, obviously, Clara doesn't know if it's Danny or not, because she thinks that he is dead in the Nether Sphere, and doesn't know if it, because obviously the dead stay conscious. She doesn't know if it's just his conscious or it's really Danny, and she is saying, tell me something that only Danny would say, and he's kind of like begging to her, saying, I love you, Clara, and she turns him off, and Danny breaks down in tears, and then is offered to kill himself.
Yeah.
That is so sad.
Yeah.
Oh my god, if Danny kills himself, I honestly might shed a tear. It's that sad. I honestly found that so heartbreaking.
It was a very heartbreaking scene. I mean,
and the fact that Clara considered killing herself to be with him, when actually he's not actually dead at all. Wow.
Yeah,
that is heartbreaking.
it shows their dedication to each other. It shows her dedication to Danny, and it shows the things that she is willing to do to be with him. And I think it's a very sad moment.
Seems a bit like Amy and Rory.
It does a little bit, but I think there's more to it than that. I think Clara's love for Danny it was a lot more obvious from the beginning. Because in the beginning, in Into the Dalek and Listen, there was the awkward date and everything like that. There was the small little argument, that possibly cocked things up. But with Amy and Rory, it's honestly, you really couldn't tell where Amy's feelings were on that one.
Yeah, and also in that scene, I just want to say they pointed out that Clara's birthday is actually on the 23rd of November.
Yes.
Easter egg.
Yeah.
Just had to mention that.
Yeah, definitely. But yeah, anyway. Where was it? Oh yeah. Well, yeah. I think Clara's performance in that, Jenna's performance in that with Danny was absolutely heartbreaking, and it added to the climactic ending, I think, and Clara, the possibility of killing herself for Danny, I think was very sad, and it was very lovely at the same time, sad but lovely. Which and Moffat doesn't write those scenes often.
Yeah, so hopefully he won't make some cop-out way of it next week. Before, I'm desperate to talk about the Cybermen, but before they actually did arrive, Missy killed Dr. Chang. We didn't know she was the Master at this point, but now looking back, that was so Master-esque.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously she's a female, which makes things different. Never like, the Master can't be a female, but if the Master is going to be a female, that's how a female Master would kill somebody.
Yeah.
Asking them to say something nice,
and
then just killing them.
Yeah, basically making someone. There's a description on the Doctor Who website which I think I think is an absolutely brilliant description, which I realised right from there. She said, I think it said something along the lines of, Missy would would stop a fly from dying just so she could pluck at the wings.
Yeah.
Or something like that.
Pull at the wings or something.
Yeah, pull at the wings or something like that. And I think that is such a great analogy for describing this new Master.
Yeah.
And I think it's a very, very Master-esque way of sort of dealing with it, because the thing is with the Master is that this may be a future video, comparing Michelle Gomez with other Masters. I don't know.
It probably will be.
It probably will be. It'll probably be a huge video. But
we'll probably do an overview of Mrs. Master after the series is done.
Yeah, probably. But I'd just like to say that every Master has had a sort of polar opposite to every Doctor. John Sim had a sort of opposite to David Tennant's, and Roger Delgado to John Pertwee's, and so on. So I do think that Michelle Gomez definitely has a certain sort of Master that is a polar opposite to Peter Capaldi's.
Yeah.
I think, because when you have a Doctor that's so heartless, which we've seen in past episodes, how can you make a Master the opposite of that but the same?
Obviously
weird.
The Master's normally the heartless one.
Yeah.
And the Doctor's normally the hero. But we'll talk about Mrs. Master. We've got to talk about the Cybermen.
Yeah.
They didn't get much screen time, but the screen time they got was brilliant.
It was the best directed of the episode.
We've always said, we said last week that the Cybermen need to be done well in this. Of course, they fly, they look like Iron Man. That will all happen next week. But what we saw from Dark Water, they looked great. I mean, leaving the tombs was a reference to Tomb of the Cybermen in itself, but then walking, it's like they went from Tomb to the invasion in a matter of minutes, and it was, I mean, even though it was a tiny few scenes, it was brilliant.
It was.
You said it's what they needed and what they deserved.
It was definitely what they needed. The nostalgia really did help the Cybermen become scary again. I think a little bit, and it really upped their menace factor.
The fact they didn't say anything, I think, was made them a bit more menacing too.
Yeah, the fact that they hadn't said anything, I think, really did sort of up their scariness, I think. Of course, a brilliantly direction by Rachel Taylor, who directed last week's episode. I think
last week was her debut. I think.
Yeah, and this week she directed Dark Water as well. Some great direction, because just the brilliant scene outside St Paul's Cathedral that, of course, mimicked, as we were saying, the invasion,
Yeah.
and also them walking out of the cages, which also mimicked a little bit of Tomb of the Cybermen.
Yeah.
I think was really, really good.
Not
And-
overdone either.
Yeah, and the way I think that they did it, very contemporary, very very up to date version of the invasion, but at the same time making it still feel nostalgic, like going, "Ooh, that's after the invasion."
Yeah.
You know,
What was
but
that?
I don't know. That's my excited sound. But yeah, so keeping it up to date, but at the same time keeping the nostalgia just right. It's something that not a lot of directors can get right, but Rachel did it well.
Yeah, like we said in the preview, that Moffat needs to not get carried away with nostalgia in this, a bit like he did in The Name of the Doctor, and that he needs to handle it well and not shoehorn it in, and I think he dealt with nostalgia very, very well.
Yes, definitely.
But, right.
Oh, let's finally get on to what you guys have wanted us to talk about and what you guys have wanted us to discuss. And oh god, now I actually this might sound bad, but I've not actually watched your Missy Hangout video yet. I meant to, but I've not had time to.
Let me just say
and there's
this.
no point in me watching it now.
Let me just say, we spoke about Missy for half an hour, and the rest of the other hour and a half was just, talking about just random stuff. And just reading comments of people saying that Missy was my next door neighbour and stuff. It was hilarious, but the hangout, literally about half an hour of it was Missy, so don't bother. But it was good fun, but yeah, it was nothing to what we planned. But yeah, Missy is a female master.
Yes, she is. Now, let's go back to the actual words that she uttered. She, of course, was... she had a sort of narcissism and...
Well, it started off before the Sidemen were released, because
Yeah.
she was saying she had Gallifrey, and she was saying, "Time lady, I'm old-fashioned."
Yeah.
And it was, "What time lady?" And then it led to
Yeah.
outside.
Yeah, so we knew that she was a time lady, which may have led quite a lot of us to believe that she was going to be the Rani, who has not been seen on screen on Doctor Who yet, but I believe there's
Since
still
my
time.
favourite episode.
Yes, Time in the Rani.
Hells yeah.
Yeah, hell's to the yeah. But anyway, so that obviously, of course, I thought it was the Rani, and a lot of people said either the Master or the Rani. I looked back at some of the comments on our Dark Water preview. I looked back on quite a lot of our videos, and a lot of people said that Missy was either the Rani or the Master. And well, it turns out they were right, and a lot of people, and I think it's clever the way Moffat's done this, I think, because Moffat has sort of done it in a way like, everyone said it was so obvious that no one actually expected it.
Yeah, not with Moffat. He's always so shocking and unpredictable. No one thought, he's not going to make it that easy for us.
Yeah.
Moffat wouldn't make it that easy. It actually was that easy, and that's like reverse psychology, really. Moffat played on our own thoughts. We thought he wouldn't do it because it's too simple, but he did.
Yeah.
And yeah, female master. I will admit
This has divided a lot of people's
yeah,
opinion.
I'm gonna briefly say my opinion of it. I would prefer her to have been the Rani. I'm not gonna lie. I did honestly, when she said, "I'm a time lady, you left me to die," I thought, okay, Time and the Rani, yes, okay, it's the Rani, it's gotta be. So I wouldn't say I was let down, but I would have preferred the Rani.
Yeah.
But I'm not gonna flipping complain.
No.
The Master is back.
Yes.
And it's a female, and I'm fine with it.
I am.
At the minute, I am.
I mean,
minute.
Yeah, I mean, my views are that I can't really say anything because we've only been aware that she was even the Master for like the final 5 seconds, 5 to 10 seconds, probably more, of screen time at the end of Dark Water. So we are yet to properly see Michelle Gomez play the Master.
Yeah.
So, I think although she is playing the same character as Roger Delgado, John Sim, Anthony Ainley, although she's playing the same character, we have to see that same character that we've been seeing for the last 40 years, and we've got to see that shine through Michelle Gomez. It's like the same with Capaldi. We've got to see the same. We had to see the same man that William Hartnell started off with, all the way down to Matt Smith. We have to see all 11 to 12 of those actors play.
12 to 13.
Yes, whatever. we had to see Peter Capaldi play that man at the beginning of this series
With a twist.
Yeah, with a twist, and and with Michelle Gomez, although she's a woman, she has to play the same role. She has to deliver it with menace, with of course playing it with her own sort of twist on the role, but at the same time, we've got to say to ourselves, that's the Master.
And looking back when she killed Dr. Chan, she is the Master.
Yeah,
I can see it now.
Yeah,
and I'm okay with a female Master. Of course, it is going to take a long while to sink in. And I'm still stuck between if he regenerated into her, or the Master stole her body.
Yeah.
Because my theory is he stole her body, but because Anthony Ainley is the longest running Master, and yet that wasn't actually his body. That was the Master stealing a body, and it became his longest incarnation. So no matter what happens, no matter if John Sim regenerated into Michelle Gomez, or the Master stole Michelle Gomez's body. Michelle Gomez is still the Master. It takes nothing away from her being the Master, but it's going to have to be justified. Next week, Moffat is going to have to justify how it went from John Sim to Michelle Gomez. If that is through the Time War, if it's from Rassilon, because she said, "You left me behind to die." Does that mean when John Sim went into the time lock with Rassilon at the end of time, or does it mean? Because obviously, now that the time was being fixed in the Day of the Doctor, does that alter the Master's timeline? I don't know. We'll talk about this in the preview.
We'll talk about all this
basically,
on Friday.
Thoughts on Missy as the Master. I'm not saying yes or no yet because there's still all of Death in Heaven to go. But at the moment, I'm happy with it.
Yeah,
I think it's a brilliant new direction.
It is. It's a new direction, and I'm more happy with the Master being a woman than. Personally, I'm more happy with that than I would be the Doctor playing a woman, but that's just me. But I'm same as Matthew. I am perfectly happy so far with the idea of the Master being a woman and played by Michelle Gomez. The screen time that we've not been aware that she was the Master. Looking back on that, as Matthew said, I'm thinking, of course she's the Master. She looked absolutely bloody brilliant as the Master. So I still think that she is that she played the role brilliantly, but I'm going to have to wait till Death in Heaven to make a full examination of her version of the character.
Yes. Right. Conclusion.
Yes.
Who's going first?
Well, yours is long as hell, so might as well get yours over and done with.
Fair enough. It's not that long. Okay. Dark Water was an exciting, thrilling, near-perfect episode to kick off this brilliant two-parter, which had my eyes glued to the screen from start to finish. It was well written by Moffat with clever direction and the best soundtrack thus far. The acting from all around was fantastic, apart from Chris Addison, who seemed to over-deliver his lines. But apart from that, there were some great hard-hitting scenes which were acted fantastically well by all the cast, such as Danny's death and Clara threatening the Doctor, and was executed to perfection. Heaven, I think, was a cleverly written concept with a great sci-fi twist. Missy's revelation of being the Master was one of the most shocking moments I've ever witnessed as a fan, which again was executed well. The Master being a female I'm okay with, as it's a brand new intriguing direction to take on the character, and I saw the Master in Michelle Gomez's performance. The Cybermen, although the reveal was a little bit predictable, they were introduced in an epic nostalgic manner that was handled well. Overall, despite the ridiculous pointless snog, which was just what the frickin' hell was that, and the Cybermen's slightly predictable reveal, this was a perfect start to the finale, and it set up the longest week of my life. So I'm probably going to give it a 9 out of 10.
Brilliant. Well, mine, slightly shorter, but I did write it in felt tip pen, so please forgive me, I couldn't fit much on A4. But yes, Dark Water was brilliant from start to finish, as Danny's death made a bigger impact with how normal his demise was. Jenna Coleman gives her best acting of the season, hands down. Peter Capaldi is, of course, perfection as usual, as his fatherly side to Clara came out while still breaking character. As soon as the liquid was explained, I guessed the Cybermen straight away, but their shock factor was not affected at all, and the nostalgia helped with their brilliant reveal at the end of the episode. Missy was the queen, or master, of this episode, as every line she performed was enjoyable yet scary, which made Michelle Gomez's reveal at the end all the more shocking. This episode literally and 100% left me speechless. Stephen Moffat, you have got my attention, but you have still got one more episode to go, so don't start getting cocky now. Whovians, the Master is back. 9 out of 10.
There we go then.
Not very much to say. We've pretty much said all we possibly can.
Yeah.
But guys, we will see you on Friday for our preview of the Season 8 finale, Episode 12, Death in Heaven. Matthew, I've been working out this equation in my head.
James, don't you? Terrible at maths.
Missy plus mistress equals the master. We hope you enjoyed our very shocking review of Dark Water. Please like this video, subscribe to our channel if you haven't already, and also subscribe to Hermits United, and please comment in the section below what you guys think of Dark Water and the shocking cliffhanger that came at the end of it.
What was that?
Missy's the master. Enjoy the longest week of all your lives.